How did the Brisbane Lions statistically win the 2024 flag, and why statistically were they the best team all year? Now, we can discuss game style, but we're gonna have a look at the numbers in this video of why they won. Now, to quickly recap, if you live under a fucking rock in Australia, the Brisbane Lions beat the Swans by 60 points in the grand final, and they nailed the game style of the balance between quick and slow. You know, short chipping marks to quick overlapping handballs, cutting through the corridor, speed on ball, catch the defense out, and getting the goals. But let's have a look at today why they were the best team statistically and see where they compare in comparison to other teams. As you can see, we have got Wheelo ratings here to have a little bit of a look of where the Swans sort of match up in comparison to, not the Swans, sorry, the Lions and the Swans, they get a match up to everybody else. Now, I think first things first, they have a high average age, the Lions, as do the Swans, who are known for having good young players, but they're primed right now, the Lions. They are a good mix of maturity and youth, but they've still got that average age in the list. And that Loman, Ashcroft as well coming in the draft, that age number could go down, especially if especially if Danaher, retires. By the time this video comes out, he might have. And also xooxo's going to retire in the next 2 years. If you look at experience, they're also in third place. The AFL average is 102. They've got that experience right now. All the good teams, look at it, Sydney, Brisbane, Geelong, Collingwood. I mean, yes, Collingwood didn't make the 8, but they could easily have made the top 4 this season. Let's move on to disposals now. As we can see, the Lions are a kicking team. If you look at the handballs, they're quite low down in third last. It's pretty obvious based off this statistic, let alone what their game style is. It's kicking. Short kicks, breaking lines, angles, in conjunction with some long kicks down the line, but they have the perfect balance between short, slow kicking and then pouncing fast, smashing the forward line. And given their efficiency of kicking, which we'll get into in a second, actually we can talk about this right now. They are in 4th for efficiency of kicks. So combine the fact they're the 4th best kicks in the competition with the fact they have the most, and you've got a pretty fucking solid game style, let alone. If you look at disposals, they're not the highest possession getter team, and they're also not the best with disposal efficiency. But that also includes handball and handball efficiency, which I can assume the handball efficiency is below AFL average as well. As you can see as I moved that, 81.6, sorry, is the AFL average, and the Lions are down there at 81.2. You can see kick percentage, Brisbane Lions at 64.4, the AFL average at 59.9, and inside 50s as well. You can see maybe because they kick more, they get more meters gained, which we can actually look at here. I would assume this is top 4 maybe. There you go, they're in 3rd for meters gained, the Lions, as you can see, 6059 compared to 5862.1. But just going back on inside 50s here, this wants to open up. Yes, here we go. 56.5, equal first with the Bulldogs, way above AFL average. They're giving their forwards opportunities, and as we can see, meters gained as well. And we can talk about, later in this video, talk about how good their forward line is, how well do they function in terms of percentages and all that. It's already looking great, and this is just why Brisbane are the best team. And look, they could have a different game style. It could be like the Dogs in 2016 with their handball game style. The fact of the matter is, they know how to apply it the best, and they know where to balance it out and maybe use some other game styles. And that's why Fagan's a great coach. He's not stubborn and sticks to one game style. He's adaptive, and when it works, it's pretty unstoppable. And we can look at rebound 50s. The Lions are not particularly high, and in fact, 3rd last. We've already looked at meters gained. Meters gained per disposal is pretty irrelevant. Clangers, also not that relevant, but Brisbane are pretty low down with clangers, with just 53 compared to 55. I think turnovers is a big one. Now, they are 3rd best with turnovers. You don't want turnovers. I can see Gold Coast and Richmond, Damien Hardwick influence right there. But they don't turn over the ball, they're clean with possession, and the same with turnovers or disposals per turnover, sorry, they're pretty low too. Moving to possessions now, we all know how important contested possessions are. Brisbane are above AFL average. Yes, they're not high up, only 6th place, but that's still pretty good. This is the stat we all know is going to be abnormally high in uncontested possessions, if I get this right. Oh, okay, they're actually not that high in uncontested possessions. They're only in 7th place for that. Once again, above AFL average. I guess that is important to note. Moving on to clearances, you've got to be a good clearance team to win the flag. That's the reality of it. You don't have to be the best. And I think the important part about these stats is this is the whole season, all the team averages. And for the finals, it really matters for the last 5 games. It's about the form of the team. Like Carlton, as you can see, top of the clearance numbers. But if I was to go up here and click last 5 matches, and then went on to all the way down here, give me a second, centre clearances. Carlton for the last 5 matches, as you can see, they are all the way down in 3rd last. So that's just a little bit of context to you. These stats need to be taken with a pinch of salt. As you can see, Brisbane, the last 5 games, are 2nd in centre clearances. They are 3rd in total clearances. If we go back to contested possessions, they're still in the top part above AFL average. The exact same with uncontested possessions. It's all relative to the last 5 games, but we're looking at the season average here, and we will continue to do so. Maybe we'll look at the last 5 matches more towards the end of the video. But like I said, centre clearances, they're still above AFL average, albeit just. But we've already discussed them for the last 5 matches. They're above AFL average for total clearances. In fact, they were in 1st place for total clearances, 40.4 here, compared to the AFL average, 37.1. Just shows a little bit their game style. And you can see most finals teams are high up in this list, with Essendon being a weird outlier. Sydney being a weird outlier. Marks, we all know Brisbane's slow game bodes really well with marks. Total marks 110, way above AFL average and way above next best in St Kilda. Contested marks, I would assume they're not amazing at, but they're in 2nd place. The Dogs and the Lions really dominate a lot of these stats here. Inside 50, we all know marks in 50 is super high. 2nd for the Lions, and I'm sure their rate is not that high, but still above AFL average. Intercept marks, I don't think they're known for, but they are 2nd in that as well. Their aerial prowess is clear. Their defensive structure to take these marks and offensive structure to get these contested marks is clear. They're tall players, although the likes of Danaher, Hipwood, Big O, they're not known for being the best tools in that position. They're clearly doing something well. Harris Andrews is a big part of these stats. He's an amazing intercept and contested marker. So I think it really adds to these stats. Marks on lead, no one gives a fuck, but I mean, they're in 2nd place for that as well. So they dominate the marks, and this is all about their game style, the slow marking to the quick ball movement to get those marks inside 50 as well. We go to scoring now. Goals scored. Does this matter? I mean, clearly not, because apparently they've only scored 23. 1 second. Sorry, that's total goal scorers. I was going to say that's a bit unusual, but maybe that's reflective of an over-reliance of Joe Danaher. Maybe that's a concern for Brisbane if he has announced his retirement, depends what he does. Average goals scored, they are above AFL average right here, 7.9. I'm sure average goals, I believe this would be, they're high up as well. Shots, they are the top of shots. We're going to scroll down here. Shots, 28.7 average shots a game to 24.9 AFL average. So they dominate the shots. I'm sure goal assist is high up as well. There we are, above AFL average, Sydney being the top. Accuracy, I think, is a really interesting one. They're actually quite inaccurate, as you can see. 47 accuracy compared to AFL average of 49.3. But we look at the per inside 50 stats, goals, scoring shots, and scores all respectively. I am sure Brisbane are top dogs for all of those. Wow, okay, no, goals per inside 50, they're actually just above AFL average. Scoring shots per inside 50 though, they're in 3rd place, and also in 3rd place for scores per inside 50. High up, as we can assume, for a very offensively astute team in the Brisbane Lions. They're also top for score involvement and for score launches. Not that important, but it is important to note where they are good at and where they are bad at. Expected scores is a great stat. I always talk about this with Wheelo, but what is the AFL deem you should be scoring per game? Brisbane are equal first with the Lions, once again showing their offensive capabilities alongside their defensive, which we'll discuss a little bit later. But expected scores and all of these sort of expected stats, they usually do pretty well in, as we sort of scroll through here. Just above AFL average there. The rating, expected scores per set shot is high as well. They generally do really well for these scores. Where do the scores come from? Their score sources. I think it's an interesting one. Kick-ins, they get not too many goals, but still more than AFL average. This will be the big one here. Stoppages, 36.3, and turnovers dominating, with Sydney really interestingly, the grand finals teams are the best at scoring from turnover. In terms of where they score from, I'm sure they're great from the defensive half, as they are in 3rd place. Forward half, I wouldn't assume they're too good, but they've proven me wrong once again. Their scoring sources comes from everywhere. The defensive half, sort of defensive to inside 50 chains. The forward half, having that territory, pressure on the defensive ball movement to trap the ball in, small forwards tackling, stuff like that. And centre bounce would be an interesting one. They're just above AFL average, but they still score pretty well from that. And it helps having Lachie Neale and Josh Dunkley. We talk about the defence here. Defensive 1v1s with Harris Andrews, they're going to be high on that list. He's a key pillar to that team. And they don't really lose many defensive actually no, they lose a lot of defensive one-on-ones with 23.5 all the way down there. I take that back. Oh wait, no, that means it's good. Sorry, that means it's good. The lower the percentage, obviously, of defensive one-on-one losses, the better. They're obviously Harris Andrew carrying that stat once again. Tackles, Brisbane are not known for their tackles. And when I click this, I assume they're quite low. In fact, there we go. They are second last here, 54.6 compared to the 60 AFL average. But I think the whole point is, in the grand final, they, I think, had 20 more tackles than Sydney. So I guess they tackle when it matters. Tackles per inside 50, I think they're actually quite good at this. There we go, they're high up on the inside 50. That's sort of trapping the ball in. That's the small forwards. That is the territory game that they're also really good at. Pressure acts doesn't strike me as a strength of theirs. No, they're in second last for pressure acts, way below AFL average. And I'm sure the spoils with Harris Andrew would put them pretty high up, but no, they're just below AFL average. Rucks doesn't matter, but we can quickly look through them. They have a lot of ruck contests, but do they have a lot of hitouts? No, they do not. They're quite low down with hitouts, all the way down with 35.5. Average is 37.7 for AFL. Win percentage, I mean, none of this hitouts kind of stuff matters. And in terms of others, I'm gonna have to move the screen here, but freeze for, they've not done well for freeze for. In fact, they're just AFL average. Freeze against, they're pretty high up. That's not good, which means the differential of Brisbane is, they have less freeze against, sorry. So they are, well, that means that they play by the rules, I guess. Not that important. Look, they're all the important stats. What I'm gonna quickly do before we end the video is go to the last 5 matches and look at some of the key stats to show you why they peaked at the right time, which is what Sydney couldn't do. They could not peak at the right time. We look at, first of all, disposal efficiency, I assume is pretty high up, just above AFL average. I guess I'm proved wrong a little bit there. Inside 50s, third place. They're at the right, peaking at the right time. I'm sure their rebound 50s are pretty good as well. There we go, they're above AFL average there. Meters gained would be at the top, definitely. There you go, that is the meterage, that's the kicking. That's what they do best, and I'm sure if you look at kicks here, they are in, wow, they're only in second place, but you can see they're still high up on those stats. We talk about contested possession, where are they? They are in still above AFL average. Uncontested possession, above AFL average. Intercept possession, above AFL average. We go to the clearances like we've already discussed. They're second for the last 5 matches. Stoppage clearances as well, they're pretty high up, but they also dominate total clearances in third place in total. We all know their marks are insane. Look at that, St Kilda and Brisbane in second, dominating the marks, which includes contested marks where they're first. Inside 50s as well, marks there, they're in 5th place. So they keep being high up in all these mark stats. You can see them all towards the top, above AFL average. You go to expected scores all the way down here. They're in 3rd place, above AFL average. Come back down, that's here by the way, this row here. Goals scored, they are, goal scorers, sorry, they're still not doing well. But goals, sorry, they are doing well, 3rd in the AFL. Just dominate. I really want to have a look at the tackles here, because I think that's an interesting one to have a look at. Brisbane weren't good at tackles, but now they're equal with the AFL average at 58.2, which I think is something to note. And then where they get their scoring from has varied a bit, less from defensive half, a little bit from forward half, and the centre bounce, which is what's changed. I think Brisbane, I think the main thing is get your midfield prime for the last 5 matches for the finals, and that's what they've done according to these stats. That's just a bit of an insight into why Brisbane, you can see they're statistically dominant for all the marking stats, the meters gained stats, even where they get the scores from, the scores, the territory game, it's so obviously dominant for Brisbane. And geez, it's worrying signs of the AFL they continue this next year, because these are absolute domination of stats. I did this video for Collingwood last season and they did not dominate like Brisbane have in this video. Thanks for watching.